Welcome back to Bad Things in History, where we've got the cure for what ails you, provided that what ails you is some lingering faith in humanity. For most of human history, nobody knew why people got sick. It was blamed on everything from witchcraft to immoral behavior. But eventually, scientists learned that most diseases were caused by microorganisms. Some psychiatrists believed that infections caused mental illnesses too. One among them thought he knew how to cure mental illness. Today we are going to tell you the story of how a psychiatrist tried to cure insanity by pulling teeth and removing organs. Focal infection theory. In the ancient world, nobody knew what caused infection, but doctors did observe that removing an infected body part sometimes cured disease. Hippocrates, one of the most influential physicians of the ancient world, recorded several cases where removing infected teeth fixed seemingly unrelated health problems. In 1877, the German scientist Robert Koch found an explanation for this phenomenon. He discovered that a certain bacterium caused anthrax. Then in 1882, he discovered another bacteria strain which caused tuberculosis. It seemed that disease had a single and specific cause. As this knowledge spread throughout the scientific community, new theories emerged concerning how infection worked and, most importantly, how to treat it. In 1900, a British surgeon named William Hunter claimed that many diseases were caused by oral sepsis, and it was possible to prevent infection and cure patients by removing their teeth. During a lecture given in 1901, William Hunter said, "The worst cases of anemia, gastritis, colitis, obscure fevers, nervous disturbances of all kinds from mental depression to actual lesions of the cord, chronic rheumatic infections, kidney diseases are those which owe their origin to or are gravely complicated by the oral sepsis produced by these gold traps of sepsis." The physician Frank Billings was based in Chicago. He believed in the claims made by William Hunter, but thought more research was needed. He spent several years looking into the nature of infections. In 1911, Frank published reports which claimed that he had cured various diseases by removing teeth and, in some cases, tonsils. The ideas put forth by William Hunter and Frank Billings became known as focal infection theory. This theory would also influence the field of psychiatry, and it would convince one man that the best way to treat his mental patients was to remove their body parts. Chronic intoxication. Henry Cotton was born in Norfolk, Virginia on May 18, 1876. As he entered the world of higher education, Henry decided to focus his efforts on the field of psychiatry. He traveled to Europe and studied with some of the field's most important figures. First, he spent time learning from Emil Kraepelin. Emil was one of the first people to claim that mental illness had a physical cause. He believed that insanity was caused by inherited defects and physical irregularities. At the same time, Henry also learned from Emil's partner, Alois Alzheimer. Alois identified the first documented cases of dementia. Alzheimer's disease would ultimately be named after him. Henry was eager to leave his own mark on the field of psychiatry, and it seemed that recent discoveries combined with old ideas might provide a path to glory. Focal infection theory was the basis for Henry's approach, but he thought doctors from the past still had more to offer. Ancient physicians believed in the idea of chronic intoxication. This theory suggested that poisons seeped into the body and eventually caused things to fail. In Egypt and Greece, they thought that feces in the colon could generate toxins which entered the bloodstream. This supposedly caused several types of disease. Henry believed that insanity was the result of this intoxication. He didn't know if it came from infections within the body or if it was perhaps produced by glands. Whatever caused the condition, substances within the patient's own body were responsible for causing mental illness. In 1899, Henry Cotton finished his studies and returned to the United States. He wouldn't wait long to put his new theory to the test. Curing disease. Adolf Meyer was born near Zurich, Switzerland on September 13, 1866. He would become one of the most influential figures in the field of psychiatry. Among his contributions was the idea of using case studies to develop treatments, and like Henry Cotton, he believed that infection played a role in mental illness. After returning from Europe, Henry spent time as a student of Adolf Meyer's. It served to reinforce his belief in focal infection theory as well as chronic intoxication. When Henry was put in charge of the Trenton Psychiatric Clinic in New Jersey in 1907, he immediately began to treat patients based on these ideas. Henry Cotton examined his new patients and realized that many of them were living in filth and had mouths full of rotten teeth. So the first thing he did to help cure the mentally ill patients in his care was remove their teeth. A few unlucky patients also had their tonsils removed. Unfortunately, some of those who endured Henry's treatments were not cured, so he would keep removing organs until the patient's insanity finally disappeared. Henry removed a wide variety of organs, including stomachs, gallbladders, testicles, ovaries, and colons. Not everyone survived this radical treatment. In one case, he tried to help a friend. His friend's daughter began hearing voices in 1919. Henry examined the new patient and recorded the following observation. There was marked retention of fecal matter in the cecal colon with marked enlargement of the colon in this area. To cure the woman, he subjected her to a series of colon removal surgeries. Unfortunately, she developed a serious infection and died. And she wasn't the only patient that had a habit of dying during treatment. Since antibiotics didn't exist yet, post-surgical infections were a serious problem. According to Henry, at least 85% of his patients that received surgery were cured. If a patient that survived was not cured, then Henry would claim that he had not removed enough organs and infection remained. For those who died, Henry said that the patients were already in poor physical condition and wouldn't have lived much longer anyway. As word spread about Henry Cotton's miracle cures, he became world famous. He was asked to accept awards and make presentations at hospitals in the United States as well as locations all over Europe. His fame also attracted hordes of patients who arrived at the clinic in Trenton seeking treatment. In June 1922, the New York Times wrote of Henry, "At the State Hospital at Trenton, New Jersey, under the brilliant leadership of the medical director, Dr. Henry A. Cotton, there is on foot the most searching, aggressive, and profound scientific investigation that has yet been made of the whole field of mental and nervous disorders. There is hope, high hope, for the future." The future, for both Henry and his patients, would not be full of hope. Investigations. Phyllis Greenacre was born in Chicago, Illinois on May 3, 1894. As an adult, she would enter the field of psychiatry, and like Henry Cotton, she also studied under Adolf Meyer. In 1924, Adolf Meyer suspected some of Henry's data might not be entirely correct, so he asked Phyllis to review Henry's work. Phyllis spent time at the Trenton Clinic trying to make sense of the staff's records. The information was so chaotic she couldn't get a clear picture of what was going on, so she started examining some of Henry's patients. The experience was very disturbing. They were all missing their teeth. Many of the toothless residents of the clinic were also suffering from malnutrition. Phyllis singled out 62 patients at random. She discovered that only 5 showed signs of being cured. The rest had either died from the surgeries or were still very much insane. The true mortality rate of Henry's treatments was 30%, and patients in the hospital knew it too. When they were required to go in for surgery, staff in the hospital had to forcibly restrain and sedate them. Understandably, Phyllis wanted to stop Henry from treating patients. She shared her report with Adolf Meyer with the expectation that he would do the right thing. However, Adolf knew that it would look bad for him if Henry's failures became public knowledge, so he buried the report. But Adolf's attempt to spare his reputation would only delay the inevitable. The New Jersey State Senate heard rumors about the questionable treatments and started its own investigation in 1925. Henry Cotton was brought before a committee and questioned about his approach to treating patients, but he couldn't finish providing the answers they wanted. He began suffering from mental illness and claimed he could not continue. As Henry patiently waited and endured his new psychiatric condition, the Senate committee eventually lost interest. Once it appeared that the investigations were over, he pulled several of his own teeth, thus curing the sudden onset of mental illness. With his insanity now cured, Henry Cotton was ready to return to work. The end of an era. Although Henry didn't have to worry about facing punishment, his reputation suffered from the public attacks. His time at the clinic in Trenton came to an end, but he was still famous and patients still wanted treatment, so he opened his own private clinic and began treating them there. Henry also became more convinced than ever that his treatments worked, so he ensured his family was also safe from mental illness. He removed his wife's teeth. Then he did the same for his 2 sons. He also began to formulate a new treatment plan for young children. Henry thought that by removing their colons while they were still young, he could prevent insanity from developing. As an added bonus, this procedure would also stop masturbation. A generation of children would not have to endure preventative treatment after all. Henry Cotton died suddenly of a heart attack on May 8, 1933. He was 56 years old. His obituary in the New York Times read, "All must lament the loss of this great pioneer whose humanitarian influence was and will continue to be of such monumental proportions." A review of Henry's records determined that during his career he performed 645 surgeries. He had also pulled over 11,000 teeth. Henry Cotton's treatments would fall out of favor soon after his death. Psychiatrists began to believe that treating the brain made more sense than removing various unrelated organs. Soon, lobotomies would become the preferred treatment for certain mental disorders. The suffering Henry inflicted upon his family also had long-lasting impacts. After reaching middle age, both his sons took their own lives. If there is a happy ending to this story, and there isn't, it would belong to Phyllis Greenacre. She had a long career and ultimately outlived both Henry Cotton and Adolph Meyer by decades. She published several notable papers on childhood development. She retired at the age of 90 and passed away 5 years later on October 24, 1989. What do you think about these strange surgical treatments for mental illness? Was it a good idea given what they knew at the time, or was it perhaps the doctors who were insane? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this strange tale from the past, then please subscribe. Would you like to help us reach a wider audience? If so, then please take a few minutes and watch another episode. Thank you for watching Bad Things in History.